Hi friends, thanks for stopping by. This is Stay Stitching and my name is Carla. I'm glad you're here. So I was missing you guys, so I wanted to make a video, but I don't have anything sewn or ready, so I thought I would pull up that old Seamstress tag that everyone was doing about a year ago. Now nobody's tagged me because that tag is old, but I thought I would just do it anyway. I know nobody cares. And so for me, I want to tag any new YouTubers like me. I just uploaded my first YouTube video on February 17th, so I'm fairly new to YouTube. And so any of you who are new, please do this tag. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your answers on these questions. So there's 12 questions in this tag. Who are you? My name is Carla Mayfield. I live in Colorado. I am an ESS teacher at a middle school. I have the 7th grade caseload. I love it. I love my school. Go Pirates. And I love my colleagues, and it's the ideal place to work and to teach and to help take care of my phenomenal kiddos. So I'm super lucky about that. Number 2, when and why did you start sewing? My sewing, it's kind of, I've had like stages of sewing, like times in my life, episodes where I sewed. My mom sewed, and she sewed our Easter dresses, she sewed prom dresses, she sewed my 8th grade graduation dress. It was a gorgeous gunny sax dress. She sewed my, one of my years of prom dress. It might have been my junior prom. It was another gunny sax. It was gorgeous. I felt fantastic in those dresses. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm out of place, I'm wearing a homemade dress. I felt like, do you see how pretty I look in my beautiful dress? That's how I felt about everything my mom made me. So I had a really positive experience with sewing. And then I did just some little minor sewing throughout my childhood. When I would come home from college, one of the things I would do is go to the sewing machine and like root through mom's stuff. And I didn't make any garments at that time. I would do things like sew beads and sequins around the neckline of a men's white t-shirt. And, you know, I would totally wear that around. Or I would sew pillowcases, you know, out of beautiful flannel, and I would put like pretty trim on them, stuff like that. Then when I was a young married woman, I just somehow caught the sewing bug again. And I sewed a lot of my maternity wardrobe for my first son, who is 27. And those dresses, I made dresses, were awful. They were just awful. I mean, they looked so homemade. I remember one time I was shopping at a grocery store, and a little old lady, 70 or 80, you know, when you're super young, you think that everyone is super old. Now looking back, she could have been my age for all I know. She was, you know, she had the white hair, old lady style. Came up and said, "Oh, did you make your dress? No one sews anymore." And I had a lovely conversation with her, but on the other hand, it was a little disheartening that while I was trying to buy canned tomatoes, this little old woman could tell from like 10,000 miles away that I was wearing a homemade dress. I knew then that, you know, that dress really looked homemade. I sewed a few little pairs of shorts and stuff for my kids, and then I got into quilting majorly. And then I quit sewing. I got into paper crafting really hard, you know, totally passionate about it. Gave my mother-in-law my Bernina. It was a quilter's edition, a beautiful machine. She still loves it. She sews on it. When I took sewing back up, she asked me in kind of a wavery voice, "You're not going to take your machine back, are you?" I was like, no, you can keep the machine. I did get my serger back from her, so I have an old Bernina serger as well. But, so that's kind of how it is. And then about 3 years ago, I don't know why, you guys, the sewing bug hit me. I think I had watched the Great British Sewing Bee, and it just reawakened that desire to create, to choose fabric and to choose patterns and to make something of my very own. I've always loved doing that. And so this time, I've been sewing for about 3 years, and I make stuff that looks really, really good now. If it fits me, if I can get something to fit me, I get lots of compliments on it, and people say to me anytime they see something that I like, oh, that's beautiful, did you make that? They would ask me about this t-shirt, you know, because I can make t-shirts. I don't have, you know, iron-ons like this, but they expect that I've made everything in my wardrobe, so I do much better now. So what is your favorite or proudest make? For a long time, it was a amazing fit dress I have. I made it, and it's out of beautiful fabric, and it fits me well, and it looks pretty on, and I get lots of compliments, and no one would ever imagine that that I made it. And that was my proudest make, because I felt good in it. I still do, and I felt like it looked good, and I had fun sewing it. The zipper isn't perfect, but it isn't anything that most people would notice, and so that was my favorite. My new favorite is my Love Notions Harmony blouse that I made, that I talked about, I think it was in my very last video. That's my new favorite, because most of the time my necklines, I'll make my tops so big that the necklines, this part here, will come all the way out to my shoulders. And so when I made that top that fits me so well in the shoulders and the upper bust, and then flares out over my areas of concern, I was really proud of myself, and that's why I have 3 more cut out and ready to be sewn up right now, because I'm so stoked to have a blouse that fits me so well and is flattering. So that's my proudest make, because I had to take the measurements, I had to have a leap of faith and not cut out the XXX. I just cut out an extra large, and it fits perfectly. So that was a big step for me, to actually cut into fabric that was smaller than I thought it should be, and make that up. And when I went to try that on, I was nervous. I took it upstairs. I didn't try it on downstairs. I didn't want my husband to see me trying to stuff myself into something that was too small. And when I realized that it fit perfectly, that was awesome. That was my favorite make. What is my most disastrous make? I have a video on it. I don't know what it's called. It was a purple dress from 1960 pattern, kimono sleeves. I made it way too big and way too heavyweight of a fabric. It looks like this on me. There's these gigantic, my sister calls them armpit flaps, which made me laugh, but there's these gigantic flaps that come from the armpit. It's a mess. So there's a whole video on that somewhere in you can find it, or I'll put a link down below. Where's your favorite place to go fabric shopping? Truthfully, estate sales, garage sales, and thrift stores. I love that magic of the universe offering up this beautiful fabric that is just ideal for something that I want to make, because you never know what you're going to get. I mean, there might be 2 pieces of fabric there, and they might be hideous, but sometimes you get really great stuff. And so that was my favorite place until we opened Mayfield Fabric and Supply, and now if I want something new, I can just shop our new fabrics and sew up some of that. If I want something vintage, I don't take vintage fabric out of our store. I keep stuff that I want to sew for myself back. In fact, one of my best friends was over the other day, and he was like, nope, you're putting this in the store. You have enough fabric. He was very hardcore with me. And he's right, though. I do have enough fabric, and so it's probably right that I should let other people have some beautiful vintage fabric. So those are my favorite places to go fabric shopping. What is my most used pattern? I've made 6 pairs of pajama pants out of a pajama pattern. I don't know what it was. And then, but when I finish with these 3 Love Notions harmony blouses, that will be 4. And that will be the most I've made out of one pattern for a garment that you're actually going to be seen in public in. So the Love Notions harmony blouse. My most dreaded sewing task, it used to be cutting out. I used to really despise cutting out. But my husband made me a cutting table, and it's gorgeous. It's from the Closet Case website. She has all of the information on there. Just go to the Closet Case blog And then on the sidebar, I think you can see that table or a link to it. I'll try to remember to put that down below as well. I showed him the table and I said, I really, really love this. This would be my dream table. And he made it for me. And I think the supplies were under $300. And it's beautiful. It's pretty to look at. And then I bought rotary mats to go on top of it. So that has helped me have a better attitude about cutting. And now I kind of try to make it a ritual. I spread my fabric out, you know, I smooth it out, I make sure it's on grain, you know, if it's a knit, I make sure it isn't hanging off the edge, and I just work around the table with my rotary cutter and I cut, I get my scissors out and I make my nips, I get whatever marking thing I'm going to use, like to make mark darts or anything else that needs to be marked, and I just do it all right then. I don't move the pieces until they are cut and marked, and it's not so bad anymore. And my favorite sewing task? Sewing. I love sewing at the machine. Stepping on the presser, the foot pedal, and making the machine sew. I could do that all day long. I could sew curtains for a living and be happy as a pig in mud. Yeah, I love that. I don't even mind things like setting in sleeves. That used to be so hard for me. I used to get tucks in it, and I couldn't see how anyone could get that done. But let me encourage you, if you're a beginning sewer, somehow through practice, your hands learn how to do that. I promise. And I don't get, knock on wood, I don't get tucks in my sleeves anymore. They all just go in easy as pie. And pie's not easy, by the way. I don't know why that's a saying. Pie is hard. Pie crusts are hard. And so that's a dumb saying. But I can set in sleeves. I just want to encourage you, if you're new to sewing and you get, you know, things are hard for you, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't give up. It's okay if your garments aren't perfect, and you'll get there and you'll learn how to do it, and it'll be awesome. And then you'll be able to sit, you know, and tell someone, oh, psh, I can set in sleeves. It's so easy. And it will be for you. So what is your favorite sewing entertainment? So sometimes I have music playing. I sometimes rarely listen to books, but I feel like it's kind of annoying for the other people in the room to have to listen to a book maybe if I've listened to some chapters that they haven't. So mostly it's either quiet and I'm just talking to my kiddo. My kiddo's computer is in the same room as my sewing room. We're both on that end of the house, and then the middle room is where my husband might be if he's on his computer or at his writing desk or reading on the sofa. Printed or PDF? Up until like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, I would have said printed, hands down. I will happily pay cashmere at $18 to have a paper pattern delivered to my door. I don't mind that it takes 4 days or however long it takes to get here. I'm cool with that. I have hundreds of patterns in my house. Literally, I can't think of anything unless I wanted to sew like a tent or something, an actual like camping tent. I probably have a pattern for it. So I don't have that urgency to sew something. You know, I have patterns. And I didn't like sticking patterns together. I had maybe 8 or 12 PDF patterns, and I have only printed and sewn a few of them, maybe 5. Printed out and stuck together and sewn, maybe 5 items. But I became aware of PDF plotting. People had been talking about it, and then Viv from Stitches and Seams did a video about it. And when I realized, oh, here's a funny story. This was another thing that put me off PDF patterns. When Sew House 7's Burnside bibs came out, I ordered the PDF pattern, and I was going to go to the store and print my PDF pattern out. And I did that. My husband and I drove all the way to Colorado Springs, which is a 45-minute drive from here, went to some FedEx office. I pranced up there, and I used their machine, and I printed my pattern out. $40. $40 to print the Burnside bibs. I don't remember how much I paid for the PDF, probably $14. So that pattern cost me $54. When the owner found that out, she reimbursed me $5 for the pattern because she felt so bad for me. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't know how these people are doing that. Paying $40 to have a stupid pattern printed out? I mean, why would anyone do that? Then I found out about PDF plotting. Well, you guys, they charge for like 3 pages of pattern. It's like $2.60. That's what I use now. So I have probably printed with PDF plotting, and they have a 15% discount with Love Notions patterns. I think it goes through the end of July. That I can do, and I have had them print probably 10 PDF patterns. I've bought probably 10 Love Notions patterns. When that top fit me, I went crazy, and I bought 10 other patterns. And so PDF plotting is the way to go. I kind of learned my lesson, but that's how I am, a little bit of a slow learner. And that's okay. I do learn, just a little bit slowly. And so what sewing machine do you use? I have about 25 sewing machines. I'm a collector. In this room right here, which is my formal living room, there are 3 sewing machines. There's a 110-year-old Singer 127, which I've sewn a lot on. It sews beautifully. There's like a 100-year-old white rotary in my most beautiful cabinet. The cabinet is gorgeous. I haven't gotten that one sewing. It does run, and I'm sure it will sew. And then over in front of me, I have a 201, a Singer 201. I don't remember how old she is, 75 maybe. I haven't cleaned her up and sewn with her yet. She runs, but I don't sew with them until they're completely spick and span and oiled and treated. I call it a spa treatment. My girls have to have a spa treatment before I expect them to work for me. They are treated like gold. I buy the best sewing machine oil that money can buy. I clean them up beautifully, make sure that they're happy and everything is ready. And then, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. I'm a collector. I have 25 sewing machines. I could probably, right now, I probably have more than a dozen sewing machines that I could go set up, plug in, and sew on. And I do have a modern machine. It's the cheap brother, under $200. That sewing machine it's fantastic. It's like $189. It does everything I ask it. It sews buttonholes like nobody's business. It is a great machine. In fact, this is coming from someone who 25 years ago was spending $1,500 on Berninas, which would be like a $5,000 machine, and today probably. I don't know if there's any reason in the world why I would buy another machine that's more expensive than my $200 brother when it has done, without complaint, every single task I have ever asked of it. So I think a sewing machine salesperson would have a hard time talking me into buying an expensive machine. I just don't, because my old ones are workhorses. They will do anything. They have incredible punching power. You can sew through leather on my old machines. And my new cheap machine does everything else that I ask of it. Swimsuits, bras, buttonholes. So I have everything that I need for machines. Machines that I love, that are beautiful and old, and my new cheap brother who just does what I ask. I also have the new cheap brother serger who also works for me without complaint 100% of the time. I've had that one for about 3 years, not one problem. So I really have nothing bad to say about brothers, at least the 2 models that I have. Do I have any other hobbies? Yes, paper crafting. Paper crafting is what took me away from sewing. Well, no, it isn't. I was not sewing for a long time before, but I was a passionate paper crafter for about 15 years. That's all I wanted to do. And now sewing is my passion, and I don't really stamp much anymore. I do have my Etsy shop open, but I sell stuff for my junk journals through that, and I don't sell cards or anything anymore. So that's it. That's the sewing tag, and I hope that it wasn't too long. And I thank you so much for listening if you stuck through this whole time. And I love hearing from your comments and talking to you. It's so much fun.